Alright, how's it going, family? Spencer-Mack here. I get asked a lot of questions on the almond protocol, the elixir, the pattern that he adheres to, and I want to make a video to express where he and I differ. I highly recommend obtaining his work for anybody who's serious about cultivating health and a greater understanding about how this body works. It's a profound protocol that he's composed. That being said, I've had to alter it in multiple ways to make it adherable for me. And I definitely thought, is this just a weakness of my mind at first? But after starting to test multiple metabolic variables, I found that I had, well, one, different genes, but also different metabolic challenges, particularly insulin resistance, pre-diabetes I found I had. After 3 months continuously being on the protocol, whenever I first started, I started testing my blood sugar, and I found I was pre-diabetic. Now, the first 3 months were extremely challenging. I was thinking, like, this is gonna get easier, right? Or is this just the way life is gonna be? The clarity of mind, the peace of my heart, and just the connection to spirit and life was profound. I loved it. That's what I love the most about the lifestyle. That's why I pursue it the most. However, physically, I was just starting to be drained, feel empty. I could feel my legs being empty every time I went up the stairs, having difficulty really excelling in my training and keeping up with my work on the farm. So it took me a little while to figure out what to do. After I started testing my blood sugar, I ended up adapting the ketogenic diet, and I dropped back into 2 meals a day for about a month and started consuming a lot more fats, dropped the sugars out. And after a month of that, I was able to transition back to 1 meal a day, and that set me straight for a long time. Granted, I fell off a few times in the following years. I maintained it 95% of the following 2.5 years. That being said, what I've learned about myself, I got hints about all along the way. My insulin resistance and blood sugar issues, I'm finding, were correlated or related to electrolyte deficiencies, is my belief now. Because about 4 months ago, I hit a major wall and I started to feel extreme fatigue, digestive issues, sleep problems, and I started getting edema, like swelling, collecting water in my legs, particularly my left leg. Eventually it would fill into both of them, and then it would get into my face, and I would feel heavy levels of fatigue, mental grogginess, lack of clarity, and it took me a while to figure out what it was. All of this simultaneously happening while I'm having to move on from my job and also my home. So it's like the amount of stress that compounded in one time and place is quite profound. And so with that circumstance, I backed off. I started eating midday and evening a couple times a week, trying to just saturate myself in more nutrition, though it wasn't always the best, and doing a lot of research to figure out what it was that had thrown me off. Ultimately, I came to the conclusion that it was potassium, and that led me into an exploration through the electrolytes and the minerals. Since then, I've formulated an electrolyte blend that I've been dosing regularly, and thank God, the potassium made a nearly immediate effect. Whenever I first started dosing it, I lost almost 7 pounds of water in a day. That being said, it took me a while to figure out the ideal dosage so that I wouldn't actually have a reverse effect, because too much potassium triggers aldosterone, I believe is the name of it. You end up holding on to salt, you end up holding on to water. So potassium and sodium and the magnesium, they all have this very intimate relationship in proper proportions. And so it's been an experience and an education. But gradually over time, I've been rebuilding my stores, starting to feel a lot better, getting back into my training. And it's been an education. So that's one of the major two of the major adaptations that I have made myself to the almond protocol, and those are ways that I differ. I supplement electrolytes during the day, and I tend towards a ketogenic diet just because it makes fasting easier for me. Also, on top of that, just due to current circumstance, I don't supplement but maybe 10% of what he recommends, mainly for financial reasons. I totally dig what it is that he supports. There's great research behind all of these implements, and that being said, I am just benefiting from learning how to isolate what are the most fundamental and necessary elements of nutrition, and it's assuring that I build up from a strong foundation. So as I have a lot transitioning and shaping and changing in my life, I want to express I'm going to try something new. Being in a new place, a lot of new things, I'm going to step back consciously, intentionally into a redefined container, something that's a little lighter, which is kind of what I've been doing intermittently for the last couple months, but I want to define it. And it's basically the protocol that I use to transition into the almond diet. Mainly ketogenic with targeted carbs for whenever I train at high intensities, and closer to 2 meals a day. That meal around midday is really going to be like protein and some kind of oil, probably chia. Alpha-linolenic acid is what I'm geared towards. Fat and protein. And I'm going to keep it ketogenic 90% of the time with isolated carbohydrates in the evening, which can help me get deeper sleep and also refill my glycogen after I do heavier training sets. So this not only is kind of a way to help me relax while I'm in the middle of a little bit of a storm of change, but also to assure that I replete any deficiencies that I might have, because running into that deficiency, how long was that really setting me back? Ever since I've got the potassium back in, my ability to accrue muscle mass has been notably better. Because of that, I researched it, and it is vital because you need potassium to absorb and utilize carbohydrates, and the right potassium sodium balance to utilize nutrition in the first place. You can't accrue muscle mass without proper electrolyte capacity, without having enough electrolytes. So also digestion, clarity of mind, but I want to get on digestion because potassium as well as sodium have a lot to do with our ability to digest, produce hydrochloric acid, and the motility of our intestines to move food and absorb food, not just through our intestines but through the cell. The right sodium balance is necessary for the absorption of nutrition through the cell wall. So there are certain fundamentals that I was depleted in that I personally don't believe Amen was in the position of when he began adapting his protocol. And I pushed past certain signs to try to get myself to that level, and it might not have been the smartest thing to do, but sure enough, life made sure that I learned what it was by putting me in such a deficit that I had to sit and figure out what it was. And this has caused me to really want to define and understand all of the necessary nutrients and to consume them in such a way that I am gradually rebuilding my stores, because you can't just take a high dose and get leveled up. It's been shown it takes 6 months to a year or more to replete magnesium stores. So it takes patience, because you take too much, laxative effect, you lose it. You don't absorb any. You actually lose some. You have to have the highest dosage possible without the side effects. So I am working on cultivating a diet that has the upper limits, the safe highest dose possible of all nutrients, and in a more relaxed container spreading it into 2 meals, space in between. And working more to just replete my stores. I'm gonna be resting, meditating, especially since I'm in such a big transition, trying to find what my new career, new livelihood is gonna be building into, where my new home is. I need to meditate. I need to go within, so to speak. So the rest, the nutrition, the simplification, and just whittling it down to what's necessary and soaking in all of the goodness helps me bring clarity. Helps bring clarity to me. So that's my approach. A lot of rest, saturation, and nutrition. Still staying on my training because that's vital. Just to clarity of mind, to health, circulating nutrients, detoxing, getting better sleep. So still staying on the training. And this is going to help me open up to define a protocol that I recommend to people who are heading towards the Amen style lifestyle. I'm going to define my container as 1 month long, ketogenic, targeted carbs, and the ultimate goal is to be back at the OMAD in the evening, gradually bringing the calories down. And in the process, it'll help me cultivate a protocol that I can share and help bring others into the protocol. Because through this channel, I've gotten to work with 43 different people. I keep track of all you guys. 43 different people over the years. And it has given me a lot of experience, and not just from other people, but from all of the angles that I've had to reapproach the diet. And gradually coming in by first adopting something closer to like a lean gains kind of protocol, a 6-hour window, even 8-hour if you need to, really helps bring people then able to take the next step into 1 hour. Now there's a lot of variables. That's why it's so difficult for me to try and just make a protocol that's one size fit all. There's no such thing. You can start with a blueprint, but then you need feedback to hear the walls that the individual is running into, and then you navigate from there. It takes a certain level of experience and adaptability because everybody's different. And that's why I stay in touch with the people that I work with, because I still learn through their experiences. And so utilizing that, formulating a more moderate intermittent fasting with an emphasis on the fats, ketogenically geared lifestyle as a means to replete all of the nutrients in the body, to reinvigorate, revitalize, to rest, reset the body, the mind, towards that even higher level of simplification, that single point of focus, that clarity of mind, that connection with spirit. That's what I'm stepping back into. It's taken me a while to be able to actually do that. I'm like, damn, I feel like I'm bowing my head like, shit. You know, because I'm like tried so hard to adhere. But it's smarter for me to, I think, step back and take a breather right now and reassess my approach. So I wanted to update you guys with that. Questions, comments, please ask away. Ideas, studies, information. Always love what you guys share. There's some awesome people following this channel. I appreciate you guys. Subscribe if you haven't, notifications, and keep this conversation going, guys. Got so much love and appreciation for all the support, all the connections, and I'll be seeing you soon. Aloha.